Hey everyone, I'm Mike Tagliere of the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. Thanks for joining us today on the YouTube channel. As always, you can find all of our new content here on youtube.com/fantasypros, as well as on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. When you go check those out, make sure to follow, subscribe, like our posts. Today, what we're going to be doing is getting into my top 16 targets by each round of fantasy football drafts. Starting in the first round, this is really a no-brainer. If you can get Christian McCaffrey, do it. But one thing I can tell you is this. If you want Travis Kelce in the first round, do it. I'm going to give you targets at running back and wide receiver throughout the remainder of the rounds to make you feel better about it. Remember this, you can't win your fantasy league in the first round, though you can certainly help yourself lose it. You will not lose your fantasy league because you drafted Kelce, who is one of the safest bets at any position. In the second round, we're going to go with Pittsburgh Steelers running back Najee Harris. Even if you're skeptical about a rookie, answer me this. Do you think Harris will get 18.7 or more touches per game this year? If so, he would reach 300 plus touches, regardless of offensive line. There have been 66 running backs who have totaled 300 plus touches over the last 10 years. 64 of those 66 running backs have finished as the RB 13 or better. At number 3, we have Kansas City Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The reasons many drafted him as a first-round pick last year haven't changed. His offense is still the best in football. He's still slated to get 16-plus touches per game. He's still a three-down running back. He's still a former first-round pick. The Chiefs upgraded their offensive line and did not replace Le'Veon Bell. You're getting him 2 rounds cheaper this year, making him an easy pick in the third round. At number 4, we're going to go with Titans wide receiver Julio Jones. Say it with me. Julio Jones in the 4th round. We haven't heard that since maybe his rookie season. The public perception on Jones is that he's towards the end of his career, but that's simply not true. In fact, he averaged a career-high 11.3 yards per target during the 2020 season and was the number 13 wide receiver in half PPR points per game. Oh, and don't call Jones injury-prone. He's played at least 14 games in 7 of the last 9 seasons and has totaled at least 1,394 yards in 6 of the last 7 seasons. You don't do that if you're injury prone. CeeDee Lamb was a solid runner-up for the 4th round if you chose to go that route. In the 5th round, we're going to go with Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. He went from being discussed as a borderline first-round pick in 2020 drafts to one who's falling until the QB5 in 2021 drafts. There's an in-between here, but I'm more on the side that Jackson is better than I ever thought he'd be. Jackson, ever since taking over the starting job in 2019, he's played 30 games. He's posted QB1 type numbers in 23 of them, or 76.7%. Patrick Mahomes has started 46 games in his career and has posted QB1 type numbers in 32 of them, or 69.6%. Yet Mahomes is the locked-in QB1 while Jackson is falling. Take advantage of this. DJ Moore is also a round 5 steal. In the 6th round, we're going to go with Browns wide receiver ODELL Beckham. We often know the most talented players at wide receiver, and we know which ones are going to get the volume. The top tier guys don't often last until the 6th round. In the 6th round, Beckham is no longer a player you need to hit on in order to justify the pick, but rather one you just need wide receiver 3 production out of to justify that 6th round pick. We know that there's top 5 upside. We've seen it, even if it's been a while. If you want to prefer a running back here instead, Travis Etienne would be my choice. In the 7th round, we're going to go with Bengals wide receivers, Ja'Marr Chase or T. Higgins. Either of the Bengals wide receivers can be picked here, depending on who your favorite is. Higgins has proved that he can play at the NFL level, while Burrow and Chase have record-breaking rapport, and Burrow did go out of his way to go to ownership and let them know he wanted Ja'Marr Chase at number 5 overall in the NFL draft. I happen to like both wide receivers as top 25 options this year. In the 8th round, we're going with Jets running back Michael Carter. The only player standing in Carter's way of 15-plus touches this year is Tevin Coleman, who's played just 22 of 32 games the last 2 seasons. On top of that, he's never been efficient when asked to carry a heavy workload. Meanwhile, Carter reminded me of Justin Forsett while scouting him. He does everything well, and though he's undersized, that should not stop him from getting plenty of opportunity, especially in the passing game. The Jets are no longer an Adam Gase-led team. There's value to be had in this offense, and Carter is one of the best mid to late round values in fantasy football. In the 9th round, we're going to go with Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill. If you didn't get Lamar Jackson earlier, don't panic. Ryan Tannehill is a phenomenal backup plan in the 9th round. Since Tannehill became the starter of the Titans in Week 7 of 2019, he's tallied 575.3 fantasy points, which ranks 3rd among quarterbacks. behind only Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. That's right, despite ranking 16th in pass attempts during that time, which, again, is a 26-game sample size, he's finished with more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson. If you already did draft Lamar Jackson back in the 5th round, go for one of Jerry Jeudy or Devontae Smith in this territory. In the 10th round, we're going to go with Bucs wide receiver Antonio Brown. From the time he joined them in Week 9, Brown finished as the number 38 wide receiver in fantasy. And to be fair, he got better as the year went on as he had to get back into football shape. Over the final 3 games of the season, he saw 27 targets, turn them into 19 receptions for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. Look, he's not going to surpass Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but he'll be closer than some think. Jalen Waddle is also a phenomenal selection in the 10th round. In the 11th round, we're going to go Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams. How often can you find a wide receiver being drafted outside the top 40 who's capable of posting wide receiver 1 type numbers? Williams fits that bill. He already has a 1,000-yard season on his resume. He also has a 10-touchdown season on it. He also happens to have one of the brightest young stars as his quarterback with little else in the depth chart outside of Keenan Allen. Health has been the biggest question mark for Williams, but once you're outside the top 40 wide receivers, there's hardly guaranteed production on the board, so take the upside with Williams. In the 12th round, we're going to go with Patriots tight end JONNU Smith. Smith's talent was not put on display nearly enough with the Titans, as he never saw more than 65 targets in a single season. Despite that, he finished as a top 12 tight end in 2020. The Patriots were aggressive with him too, signing him the first day of free agency to a 4-year, $50 million deal, which tells us all we really need to know. They aren't going to hide him in the offense. Sure, the signing of Hunter Henry hurt his projection a bit, but the drafting of Mac Jones improved it because once he takes over as a starter, this team is going to throw a lot more. Once you get outside the top 4 or 5 tight ends, you're chasing upside, and Smith has plenty of it. In the 13th round, we're going to go with Bears wide receiver Darnell Mooney. If you watched Mooney last year, you would have routinely seen him get open, only to be underthrown and overthrown by his quarterbacks. No matter who is under center for the Bears, it'll be Justin Fields before long, they'll be an upgrade for Mooney, who finished with 98 targets his rookie season. With Anthony Miller now gone, it's likely we see Mooney in an even bigger role in 2021. He's not likely to see a consistent high target share with Allen Robinson on the field, but with his field stretching ability, he doesn't need double-digit targets to make a splash in fantasy. He'll be worth even more once Fields takes the starting job. In the 14th round, we're going to go with Jets wide receiver Elijah Moore. When there's a steady drumbeat for a player over the offseason, you need to pay attention. Each and every single beat reporter that's been to Jets camp has said the best player on the field is Moore, and that it's not even that close, and that they're going to find ways to get the ball into his hands. It's also worth noting that A.J. Brown said that Moore is a better receiver than him. Look, we're not expecting that, but heck, if he's just 75% as good as Brown is, we'll take it in the 14th round. In the 15th round, we're going to go with Ravens wide receiver Rashod Bateman. Tell me if you've heard this before. He's good, sure, but the offense is a run-first offense, doesn't have a lot of volume. He's a rookie wide receiver. They take time to develop. He's not the #1 target on his team. We said those exact same words about Justin Jefferson last year, and look what happened. From the moment I started watching Bateman's film, I was instantly reminded of Keenan Allen, a receiver who may not be an elite athlete, but one who continually got open due to intelligence and route running. He should be lined up all over the formation, including the slot, becoming Lamar Jackson's favorite target as a possession-style receiver, while Marquise Brown plays the field-stretching role. What I love most about Bateman is the same thing that we loved about Jefferson last year. He's available with one of your final picks, which allows you to move on if things don't work out like we'd hoped. There's a scenario where Bateman is an every week wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type option. And in the 16th round, we're going to go with Patriots wide receiver Jakobi Meyers. He didn't become the starter until week 7 last year. He had a quarterback who threw 8 touchdowns all season, none of which were to Meyers himself. Still, he finished as the wide receiver 24 during weeks 7 through 17. It's possible that he's the new Julian Edelman of this offense. Okay guys, and that wraps up my top 16 targets by round. Let me know who your favorite selections are in your own 16 rounds. Did I miss someone that you really are excited about this year? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, as well as we're going to be delivering as much information as we possibly can leading up to the NFL season.